Hello and welcome. My name is Peterson, president of Chandler-Gilbert Community College, and we are so excited to have you join us today for our student town hall. We have about an hour to spend with you. We have a short presentation of some of the resources that we're providing to help you during these challenging times. And then we've got time to hear from you, to hear some questions. You can share questions through the comment function in either YouTube or Facebook, whichever you're using to be a part of this today. I want to start by introducing the amazing panel that has joined me today in this conversation. So first we have our Vice President of Student Affairs, Veronica Hipolito. Then we have our phenomenal student body president here at Chandler-Gilbert Community College, Angel Delveccio. And one of our amazing peer mentors, Kathryn Hunter. I'd like to turn this over to Vice President Hipolito to talk us through the agenda, how we're going to roll today.
Hi, everyone. I want to thank all of you for joining us today. I know that your schedules are, I'm certain, are very busy with classes. This is going to be a great time for you to get questions answered. We're excited to share information with you about all the services and support that we have at Chandler-Gilbert in place for you. So we're going to go through our agenda, and we're doing the welcome. So welcome. And we are also going to go through all the avenues for outreach, some support and resources. We're going to explain to you how you can get connected and involved with the college and community. And then I think the most important part of today's session is to give you an opportunity to ask us questions and give us a way to tell you how we can support you and help you to be successful as a student. So I'm going to start off with student outreach, support, and resources. And I'll give you a broad overview, and then I'm going to give our peer mentor an opportunity to share more about that program. So I think about support in three different spaces. We can provide support in the areas of learning. And so when you go to the college's website, you'll find that there are different sections on the website that go into detail about some of what I'll share with you. But some services I want to highlight specifically are tutoring. We have free tutoring for students, and I encourage you to take advantage of that before you need it. So oftentimes we wait and we're panicked, and it's harder to figure out how to use things. But you can go in, set up appointments with tutoring. They can work with you in your scheduling needs, and it's free. So it's something to take advantage of and to try different tutors to see if you can find someone who's a good fit for you. There are a lot of opportunities to navigate the website and use online resources. If someone needs help on how to use Canvas, for example, you can get into our free course that teaches you how to navigate Canvas. We also have support in place for basic needs. And so we know right now that with COVID, many of our students are struggling financially. You might be concerned about how to keep yourself fed, or if you have family, and how to feed those folks. So we have a food pantry, so we can provide some food. We're also doing produce deliveries once a month at each of our campuses. Being a college student, we know that sometimes time is also a limitation, so it may not be a financial issue for you, but you just may need some help on getting some of these things taken care of. So we can help you with that. We can help through food. We can also provide some emergency assistance. So I like to think about it as sort of life happens many. So you weren't expecting that your car was going to break down, but now it's creating a stress for you. We can help connect you to some financial resources that might help get you through that tough time. So basic needs can also be found on our college website. If you just click on that button, it will show you all the different services we provide. Student success and academic planning. So being a college student can be challenging as you try to balance and juggle all of your responsibilities. We do have free counseling services for students, and they can talk you through the best ways to manage your time, help you identify some of the challenges you're navigating. So we encourage you to take advantage of that free resource. And then we have amazing advisors. You'll see on their title, it's called an analyst, but what they are is they're an advisor. They're there to help support you, and they can help you understand what courses you need to take to move towards your educational goals. This year, we expanded our peer mentoring program, and they are also a great resource for you as you try to figure out what's the best path for you and what are the best resources for you. So I'm going to turn it over to Kathryn. She's one of our peer mentors, and she'll tell you more about the program that we have in place and share with you the best ways to get connected to support. Kathryn?
Hi, thank you, Veronica. So my name is Kathryn. I'm a peer mentor. I'm one of the newest ones, so please forgive me if I mess up somehow. So peer mentoring, I think, is a really great program. We've recently revamped it, so it includes all the first-year students, all of the classes. It's very specific to your major. So for example, I'm a psychology major, so if you are in the field of behavioral or social sciences, I'm your go-to. So basically what peer mentoring is, it gives you an opportunity to connect with someone who is going through the same experiences as you. We're both college students, you know, we understand what you're going through, we understand the resources that you need, kind of the issues if you're having issues with your classes or scheduling or just general stress and anxiety. One way you can access us is through Cranium Cafe. So you go to the Chandler-Gilbert website, log in through Cranium Cafe. It has a list seen on the slide with all of our information. So you can look for your major or just if you need help, and you can set up an appointment. We can discuss your class schedule, what classes you want to take. We work with an advisor within your field to discuss how you want to move forward with your degree. Scheduling issues, if you're having trouble with the class, if you need to set up tutoring, basically anything you need, we're here for you. And we also have the Chandler-Gilbert Suite of Success, which is our Canvas course for first-year students. It has everything you could possibly need. Anything from maps on how the campus is laid out. It has virtual workshops on scholarships, how to work through Canvas if you're new. We have Wellness Wednesdays talking about self-care and how to manage your stress and anxiety. This is a really stressful time, especially with the pandemic, and I think we're all feeling that disruption. So I think this is something that gives you an extra support system. So just know that we're here for you. We know what you're going through. We've been there before. We're here going through it now with the pandemic. And so really we have all these resources just for you, whether you're a first-year student, whether you're a fifth-year student, we are here for you and here to support you with your personal and school needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathryn. I want to take a moment to remind you that if you have questions for us as we share information, you can put those questions in the comment areas. If you're watching us on Facebook or on YouTube, there should be a comment section there. So I'm sure that some of the information we're sharing does raise questions, so please put them in the chat box. Now I want to talk about getting involved. As you can see, we're all working from home today. I have my bed in the background. Dr. Peterson is at home in his living room on the couch, and our students are at home. And so we worry about feeling isolated and disconnected from other people, and this can be hard. So let's talk about how you get connected. So classroom engagement is going to be one of the first spaces I tell you to make the extra effort. As I talk through all the different opportunities that are there, I know that the key factor in helping you to be a successful student is for you to feel connected to your classmates, connected to your instructors. And so your classmates are there in Canvas. So even though it may feel like you're learning alone, I want to assure you that you're not alone. You're in a class with other people who are like you, and you can use the opportunities through Canvas, through chats, through study groups to get connected to other students with similar interests. The other piece of advice I would give you is to introduce yourself to the instructor. Make the extra effort to send a personal chat to the instructor to let them know what you're interested in, what you're excited about in the class. And then if there are things that worry you about the class, it's okay to share that too. It's a way to set yourself apart from other students and make a personal connection. So please take advantage of all the classroom opportunities that are there. I also want to talk to you about some of the student activities that we have in place. So even though we're in a virtual space, we have teams of people who are working hard to create opportunities where you can keep learning. So we've had some virtual speakers. This week, we actually have a virtual leadership conference happening where students have the opportunity to meet other people, but also hear from some pretty awesome speakers on leadership and filling our own potential. So we're going to plan more activities like that, and you can find out about these items by connecting to us through Coyote Connect. You'll find that on our student activities website. We also have an information calendar and event calendar on the college's website. So these are the spaces I would encourage you to just check in periodically to see what's going on and figure out a way to stay connected. Civic engagement, I wore my vote t-shirt just for you today. So being connected on campus is super important, but we also want you to feel connected to your community. This is an election year, and so we encourage you to register to vote, and we can help you do that through our Student Life office. So we'll teach you how to register. If you've never voted before, we can tell you how that works and what you should expect. But there are timelines and deadlines in order to make that happen. So reach out if you want help, but we want you to be connected and informed in what's happening within your community. We also have a series of speakers to help you learn more about the life experiences of people who may be different from you, and it's called Bridging Cultures. So we encourage you to take advantage of those series. And then we would also tell you that there are still ways to give back to your community. We have a strong service learning program at Chandler-Gilbert, and we're looking for ways that we can support that virtually, but there are still ways for you to find ways to give back to your community, and we'll connect you to that as well. So stay informed, check the website, and then follow us on social media where we promote these events. Now I'm going to turn it over to Angel. He's the president of our student government, and he's going to share with you his experience about getting involved on campus.
Thank you so much. Following that, my name is Angel Delveccio, and I'm the active president of Associated Students at Chandler-Gilbert Community College. I'm studying business management and marketing right now, and will be transferring to ASU in the spring. But just talking about my personal experience of getting involved on campus, since taking the initiative to make student life a part of my life, I have gained so much from the experiences ranging from networking, mentorships, and even friendships. My engagement on campus is one that I'm proud of and starts with the Business Professionals Club, which is now formerly known as DECA, where I was able to learn all these skills that go into my career, and I was able to go to events, and now even DECA, going to the DECA events as well. It's a great way to get involved and find something that's familiar with yourself. Do something that will connect with you both in your career and something that you're actually interested in. And that way you're able to connect with it more and find out what you really enjoy. Some benefits that I've enjoyed since being engaged, or things that have come my way since being engaged, is Chandler-Gilbert Community College supported me to go to the 37th and 38th United States Hispanic Leadership Institute Conference, whose mission is to fulfill the promise and principles of democracy by promoting education, research, leadership development, and empowering Latinos and similarly defranchised groups by maximizing civil awareness, engagement, and participation. I was also able to engage myself in the entrepreneurship program Poder, which was held on the Pecos campus for 5 weeks, where I was challenged to push my creativity and come up with new ways to have a productive outlook and come up with a new product, and have that opportunity to present it for the ASU's Cisco Innovation Challenge. But what's also really important too about getting involved is something that I've learned, and I call it the domino effect, where I've noticed that once people take the initiative to get involved on campus, a lot of other aspects in their life change as well. People begin to become more productive in their social life, in their schoolwork, and of course on campus. Having this new responsibility will surround you with like-minded people who only want to improve their lives, and it almost becomes infectious, right? That is why I call it the domino effect, because taking that initiative to get involved creates a topple effect merging into other aspects of your life. And I would sincerely say that getting involved is one of the best things you can do during your college experience.
Thank you, Angel. So now this is the time for us to answer your questions. And so we want to know how we can support you. So this is also a great opportunity for you to give us feedback. So if there's things that we can do that would improve your experience, you can share that. And most importantly, it's okay to have questions, and it's okay for this all to be hard. Like, this whole experience is hard and it's weird and it's different. And so we want you to there are no bad questions. So go ahead and put it out there. We have a moderator who will be fielding the questions for us. And so I'm going to introduce Jenna Call. She's one of our associate vice presidents, and she will help us with the questions and moderating that space for us. Turning it over, Jenna.
Hello, everybody. So we have 2 questions in the queue so far. So question 1 is from, I had her name on me, here we go. First student question. As a student with kids in public school, they've gone back to school in person while wearing a mask. Is the college working on a way for us to do the same? Some classes just aren't practical online.
That's a great question. I'll tackle this one first, and if anyone wants to add, we are navigating this space. What we know is that we're still in the midst of the pandemic. Arizona was doing better. We know in the summer we had high positive infection rates for COVID-19. They've improved. And I just read this morning that we have increased. We're one of 7 states that increased again this past week as we look at our numbers. So Chandler-Gilbert is being very mindful and very cautious as we think about how to make sure that we're protecting the health, safety, and well-being of our students and our faculty and staff on our campuses. We do have some classes that have an in-person component on our campuses currently. Some of our career technical education courses, such as our nursing program, our aviation maintenance technology program, our emergency medical technician, I always just say EMT, our EMT program. We have some of our fine and performing arts courses that we've been able to accommodate on our campus as well. Our ceramics, we have some ceramics courses, for example, a couple of our music courses. So we've been working to find ways. As we prepare for the spring semester, we are looking at some additional options, especially as we look at the closer to courses that start later in the semester, that we would provide more options for a hybrid and in-person component. So courses would be partly online and partly in person, especially in those areas we know where it's more difficult for students to be able to learn in the online setting. Would any of my panelists like to add?
What I would add is we recognize the challenge for students who expected to be in-person classes to convert to being an online learner. So we know that isn't easy, but I will say that one of the values in our decision making has been how can we provide some stability for our students. We know that it was really disruptive to have to convert in-person courses to online within a semester. And as we study what's happening across the nation in universities and colleges, what we're finding is that even colleges who started off as in-person are now having to convert to online courses mid-semester for students. The feedback we heard from students was that was really hard to do. So we are being conservative in our planning and really ensuring that our students are being set up for success and being planful in that. So I think we recognize there's some challenges with that, and we will put support in place for students, but we appreciate hearing from students about how this can be hard. We're going to try to make it easier, and I'm excited that we are going to look at some in-person options for late spring.
And I think that leads right into the question, which is a combination of 2 people currently viewing. Do you know, or when can we expect to go back face-to-face?
Well, we are hopeful. As we look at the national data for the Center for Disease Control, CDC, as we look at the data at the state level through the Department of Health Services, and then we look at our Maricopa County Health Services Department data, the predictions seem to indicate that things will get better in the spring. We're hopeful that timing will also be helped with a vaccination, and that we'll be finding ourselves as we enter in the spring in a better space, and especially as we look into the middle of spring, really having more ability to return and provide more activities on campus for students to engage. So as Vice President Hipolito mentioned, we're being cautious in our planning, but we are hopeful as we enter into the spring semester to have more flexibility and be able to provide more of that in-person experience for students.
Okay, changing gears a little bit. Another student asked, I wanted to inquire about how serious the college takes student feedback, especially regarding faculty.
That's a very good question. We take feedback very seriously. Especially as it comes through. So we encourage all of our faculty and all of our trainings, all of our preparation for faculty. Every year, we focus on really helping faculty to be best prepared to provide support for all of the individual learning needs of their students. And so we strongly encourage, if there is a concern that you have in a class with a faculty, please speak with the faculty member. We find that those conversations really lead to a lot of success in addressing those concerns. Then we have structures in place with our faculty division chairs and then our deans and other administrators to help when we need a little bit more assistance in working through some of those concerns. Those systems really try to help us figure out how do we identify strategies that will be successful. Sometimes there are challenges in consistency as we think between courses and how do we make sure the experience for students is consistent. Sometimes there are some bigger challenges. Life happens for faculty just like it happens for students and for the rest of us. And so sometimes we need to step in and help figure out how to support faculty and students to be successful. And we are committed to making sure that we provide support for faculty to grow and develop. So as issues come up, as we're having these conversations, you might, as a student, might not directly see the impact of the conversations or be aware of the conversations that are happening as we're working behind the scenes to improve and grow and develop. But don't be discouraged that those conversations aren't happening and that we are making improvements for the future as well.
Okay, next question. What are the most underutilized resources that we should know about, especially students that are struggling with reduced income?
I can take the lead on that. So I think what we've learned even in the last few weeks is that many students aren't aware of the food resources that we have available. So as I shared earlier, we have food pantries at both the Williams campus and the Pecos campus. And we're doing a once a month food distribution. They're food boxes. So like the last food distribution came with 2 boxes of eggs, a gallon of milk. So we can help with the food piece. We also have transportation assistance. So if students, while we're not in person right now for courses, we know that most of our students actually work. About 75% are part-time. So that usually indicates to us that you have other significant responsibilities, right? That you're either a parent, some sort of caregiver, or that you have a job. So if you need assistance with transportation, we do have reduced rate bus passes that we can help with. And then I don't think students often know that when life happens, that they're not, they don't have to be on their own, that we can help people navigate that. And even if we don't have access to the resource, we're trained on how to connect you to community resources. So there are so many support services available in our community. And it can be hard as a student to navigate where you should start and how do you even begin to get connected. But we have staff who can help you navigate all of that and figure out the best way to move forward. But I think what always for me is hard is when I hear a student quit before we even had the chance to help. So you don't have to bear things by yourself. We can help you through that. And I would say that there's so much that ends up being left on the table because we've not connected students. So just reach out, and even if you don't think we're the right people, I always tell people reach out anyways, that we'll get you connected to the right people.
Kathryn, when you've been talking to students, what are you hearing are the resources that are most requested?
So I personally have not spoken with many students yet because I'm still new, but what I've heard from my coworkers is there's a lot of questions about scholarships, about academic resources, usually with advising, about what classes to take, like handling course load. And I think a lot of stuff about stress too is one of the biggest things, especially right now. And even after this, like that's what I hope people will continue to utilize the peer mentoring program even after the pandemic ends, because I think it's something that can really help students not be afraid to ask for any of the resources that they need.
Angel, from your experience, is there anything you'd add?
Yeah, I'd like to follow up on what Kathryn was saying. A lot of students that I've talked to have have wondered where they could find more scholarship opportunities. And I always point them to the website and even counseling. Sometimes students ask about counseling and I refer them to our sources on campus because we are going through a hard time right now. And these are all things that we can use.
And the nice part is, if you have a question, ask, and we will help you navigate.
Thank you. Next question. What can Coyote parents do to support our college students? Watching them navigate this is difficult, and many of us don't know how to help or support.
Vice President Hipolito, do you want to start us off on that?
I can do that. I think sometimes our students don't have a lot of confidence, right? So that's something that we've learned from our survey is that the students going into an online learning space, that sometimes their own level of confidence is not very high. So I think as a parent or a sibling or a partner, I think that idea of being the encourager and providing some affirmation that you've got this. And it's just this idea when I'm already sort of feeling uncertain that I'm not really looking for people to tell me that you're right, this is going to be hard, but really more about what capacity do you have, So I think sometimes it's those simple things of, yeah, you're right, this can be really overwhelming, but I've seen you prioritize this really well. I bet you could apply that in that same course. The other thing that is helpful is I think sort of that role playing with students, especially when they have to have a tough conversation with an instructor, that can be really scary. And I know even from my role, I've done that a few times with students to say, okay, well, you have a valid concern and let's practice how you might talk to your teacher about this. I think sometimes as a loved one and that cheerleader, our inclination is to want to have the conversation for the student and to see if we can intervene and make that road easier. But I think the best thing we can do for students is to teach them how to navigate these conversations, how to self-advocate, and we can certainly be in the wings and help them practice and do that. But letting students know they have the capacity to have the conversation, I think, is so important, and it will help them with the courses that they encounter in the future.
I want to ask Angel and Kathryn to share from your experience, how have you best felt supported by a parent or another loved one in being a student?
I would say, going back to the reference earlier, just that support and that initial understanding of saying, like, you got this. I mean, going into college, it was very challenging at first because it's a new setting, you're surrounded by a new environment, and there's so much more going on than compared to the previous grade levels, right? So having that initial confidence with just the affirmations, just letting you know that everything's going to be okay. But also, one thing that my mother did when I was very first coming in was she helped me come up with like a little game plan. Like, what is it that you want to accomplish? What are your goals while you're in college, and how are you going to get those done? And then at that point, she kind of let go of the wheel, and then I took, control. But I would say just that initial beginning process, just helping them get through that like brick wall, just to say, is astounding just in the results that it can bring over. Yeah.
I think for me, the biggest thing is my parents always let me be myself, and they always listen to me. I started Chandler-Gilbert when I was very young, and I changed my major a bunch of times. There was a lot of flip-flopping. But every time I decided I wanted to do something new, my parents always supported me. They always led me in the right direction, like, okay, if you want to do this, you can do this, this, and this. These are your options. They always gave me options for what I wanted to do. They never told me, like, no, you can't pursue this, no, you can't pursue that. So I think that was the biggest thing, was just letting me, like, supporting me, but also, like, giving me the chance to make my own mistakes, learn my own lessons, and choose my own path.
Thank you. I'd like to add another piece that if parents could help normalize asking for help. There are resources that some of our students don't feel that they feel guilty, or they worry about asking. So, for example, we do have some laptops that we can loan out to students. And in talking to some students who needed that resource, they told us they were worried that someone else needed it more. That they were trying to make things work on their phone. We have those resources, and we want to be able to share them. And so if you could help your students know that it's okay and it's normal, and that's why we have these resources, that they're there to be used.
And this ties in with our resources question, a little bit more specific. Do you have any tools students can use to prep for quizzes, midterms, and finals?
Who'd like to tackle this one?
I guess I'll go. Recently, I had some work for a class, and I didn't know where to turn to because I knew that the tutoring center was closed due to the campus being closed. And when I went onto the CGC website to figure out how I can get that initial help, I found peer mentoring. And I was able to sit down with an instructor for an hour, and he just helped me go through the work that I was struggling with, gave me an initial base understanding, and then I was able to go take that quiz and absolutely crush it. But it was with that initial help that I was able to get the understanding that I needed for my homework, which initiated into my test. So peer mentoring was definitely one of those things that helped me out right now.
That's awesome.
Okay.
I would also add that our librarians are a great resource for students. And so if there are specific tools that students need to look for or related to a specific topic, we do have a program called Ask the Librarian, and that's 24/7. And you can go onto the website, and they are, because what I have found is students study at really odd hours. And so we're not always awake when they're trying to reach us. So having that 24/7 help, I think, is really crucial for students, and they can at least get students pointed in the right direction. And then I'll go back to what I shared earlier about utilizing tutors before we think we need them. And so a tutor can also help a student early on in their class think through, what are the notes I should be taking? What should I focus on? So then when it comes time for a quiz or a midterm, I feel adequately prepared. So it's this idea that quiz and test preparation doesn't happen the week before or the night before, but it's actually building, right, on the knowledge that you have with every class. And so knowing what to focus on and what to retain. So use tutors before you actually need them would be my advice.
And in addition, our computer lab team, because we're not functioning with our computer labs on campus in the same way as we normally do, they're available virtually to assist with technology needs as well. So if you're trying to navigate software or pull something together get something to work that that you're struggling with, they're available as well.
Thank you. And I just want to make sure we can clarify just from some of the comments on the board, tutoring is open. It's being offered virtually. So you can find all of that online, and the website has been posted in the chats on both YouTube and Facebook. So our next question goes back to COVID. Let's find it on here. We see other universities in Arizona with high COVID rates after returning to campus. If we go back in the spring, what's the number or threshold of positive tests that would make us go back to virtual?
We're doing a lot of work as a district. So the 10 colleges in Maricopa County, really talking through these. And this is why, this is part of, as we mentioned before, about really being thoughtful and cautious as we return. As Vice President Hipolito mentioned, we do see universities who have returned in person and then have been found themselves going remote because of increased cases. There are other strategies about changing the schedule. So there are many universities that, because they have that residential component, that in-person component, they're also looking at ending their semester early in the fall. We are looking at, so we've been looking at the Center for Disease Control information. We've been looking at the Arizona Department of Health Services, and about the middle of August, the Arizona Department of Health Services created a dashboard specifically for schools that identifies 3 benchmarks, and those benchmarks outline the increase in positive cases, the symptoms, the COVID-like symptoms at hospitals, and the positivity percentage rate, and with indicators. So with tiers of green, yellow, and red, and so as a district, we've been monitoring those spaces to see based upon those changes from moving from the green spaces to the yellow would be one of our thresholds that we would be looking at. Any movement that's consistently moving upward toward a red would be another indicator for us, another threshold that we'd be looking at. We're comparing that data specifically as well with the Maricopa County specific data, since the Arizona Department of Health Services uses the state data. And there's also a tool on covidnow.org, which looks at national data and has similar metrics that have similar color-coded thresholds. So those are the tools that we're using as we monitor back and forth to look and see how things are changing in that space to be able to look at that threshold.
Thank you. This question is specific to our student leaders. What do you want to tell everyone watching about ways that you're able to stay connected right now?
I'd say first and foremost that the biggest way that you could stay connected is through Coyote Connect. On Coyote Connect, there are a lot of ways to get involved and keep getting information, and because we do post a lot of information through Coyote Connect. And currently that's what I'm thinking of, and I'll chime in if I can think of another thing.
Yeah, I would definitely agree that Coyote Connect is one of the biggest ways. Almost all of our clubs are currently virtual, so if you were part of the club in the fall and spring of last year, you can still connect with those people online. I feel like in my personal life too, just staying connected virtually, it's not ideal, but I think having that connection is really important right now. So I think especially like having a face-to-face, like with Skype, Zoom, whatever way possible is something that's really important and probably the best way to talk to people. And I think group chats as well is one of the biggest things.
And going back to group chats, a lot of clubs are now using things such as Discord, such as esports, right? and they're using other platforms as well, and just simply getting involved and speaking to those clubs, then you'll be able to figure out how they're staying connected, and maybe that'll connect you to other group chats and other ways to stay involved and keep hearing the voices from your colleagues and peers.
Thank you. This question is from the perspective of a dual enrollment student. What kind of support can you provide to current high school students taking dual enrollment?
So our dual enrollment students, you are a college student. So that's, something that I always like to remind students who participate in that program, that you're a full-fledged Chandler-Gilbert Coyote. So that means that all of the resources that we talked about today, that you're able to access as a student. So sometimes the only limitations we experience are with like federal financial aid, because that's a very specific guidelines that we have to follow. But outside of that, everything else, you can use tutoring for your classes, you can access clubs and organizations. So all of the things that we talked about, you certainly can take advantage of. There are going to be questions or challenges that come specifically to your program. And so we do have a dual enrollment services team, and there is a high school liaison for every dual enrollment program. So we can connect you to the liaison at your high school. And so that's a good place to funnel questions that are specific to your experience as a student. But then, I encourage you to take advantage of all the cool things that are happening on campus and the resources that are there. It will also put you one step ahead when you graduate from high school, because the things that new freshmen are learning how to use, you've already become familiar. And I think that's one of the best benefits of dual enrollment, is that you get a head start on learning how to use the resources.
Make sure you access the peer mentoring as well. That's available for you also.
And just to add a little clarification for one of our students, our dual enrollment students who, let's say, are taking math, but it's not dual enrollment, could they still use our tutoring to help them with math?
So the tutoring we offer is going to be specific to college courses. So that's how we hire tutors. So the challenge you might experience would be that we're not teaching the kind of math that you need help with. But I do think that's still where our high school liaison could be helpful, because your own high school will have resources available to you. So it's a great question, because you're navigating both spaces. The benefit, though, is you get support in both those spaces.
Thank you. So our next question, considering current financial difficulties for college students, is CGCC still providing job opportunities for enrolled students?
You want me to answer that, Greg? So we still have a number of federal work-study positions that we have filled. We also have part-time jobs, like our peer mentors. That's a paid position, and we actually are still hiring. So if you're interested, you just go to our website. So if you go to the Maricopa, actually, let me clarify, it's not the Chandler-Gilbert website. Go to maricopa.edu, and there's a careers website. That's where we post all of our part-time positions. And so sometimes there's part-time positions that, as a student, you may meet the qualifications for. And that's where our peer mentor positions are posted. And sometimes there's other part-time work, like in student life, that we are advertising in those spaces. So there's two different ways. You can look at federal work study, and you can look at part-time employment. We also have a job board through our career services website, and that's where we advertise positions that are open in the community. And so we know that for most of our students, actually, that you need the additional employment, and we may not be able to offer all of that at the college, but there are a lot of places that are still hiring, and we can help you get connected. We can also help you prepare for your interviews. We can review resumes for you. And so again, just visit our career services website.
Thank you. So next question is a little bit COVID and a little bit library. Can we expect the library to open up before the spring?
So the library will not open during the fall semester. It'll remain in its current function. There's still There's still curbside pickup for options. There's still access to the resources in the library, but the library itself will not open for the fall semester. In the spring, as we begin the spring, will probably be similar, but as conditions improve, we'll look at ways to be able to, again, provide more access to on-campus facilities and supports. Veronica mentioned before the Ask a Librarian option, which is a very quick way to be able to get support and access to a lot of resources as well.
Thank you. The next question. Any discussions with instructors about how their grading system will be at the end of the semester?
So this probably speaks to in the spring, right? In the spring, we were trekking along in 2020 and life seemed normal, and then all of a sudden COVID-19 hit. And in 2 weeks, we took a 2-week break to allow faculty to transition classes to online, and all of a sudden we were online. And of course, as students, most students weren't prepared for that type of transition, and then all of other life was happening at the same time. So we provided all courses in the spring the opportunity to look at a pass or no pass grade instead of a letter grade for courses. As we've looked at the fall, Chandler-Gilbert, we've tried to be really proactive in communicating and providing structures up front for students as they're navigating which courses they're taking online, and to provide those resources to be successful. So we won't be implementing that same pass, no pass option in the same way. There's still, that option is still built into our regular structure. But we won't be, as we did last time, where we automatically changed all students' grades to that pass fail and then, or pass no pass, and then they had to request a letter grade. The grading will remain the same. That said, we're working with faculty to be very gracious and supportive of students as issues come up. And so if you have a concern, as Vice President Hipolito mentioned before, talk as soon as possible with the faculty member, and we'll see what options we have available to support you to be successful or to explore your options.
And Dr. Peterson, what I would add to that is that most of the time as a student, we get panicked towards the end of the semester. And so it's not uncommon for instructors to hear from students in that last 2-week window of, I think I'm failing, I don't know what to do, or I've gotten behind. And it's usually in those last 2 weeks where now options are so much more limited than most students have a sense of how things are going right now. So we're already in our 4th week of class. And so we have a sense of, okay, is this going to be challenging? Am I enjoying this? Am I already behind? Now is the time to talk to instructors about how the class feels and how you feel like you're doing as a student. We did a lot of work this summer with our instructors. We called it Base Camp. So every instructor at Chandler-Gilbert had an opportunity to go through training on how to do online teaching, because it's very different than being in a classroom setting. And so our instructors have really invested their own time in how to offer the best experience they can, but it's a learning curve, right? And so we need to have conversations, we need to talk, and they sometimes don't know what's going on with you as a student until you tell them. So encourage you to start having those conversations now.
And as Vice President Hipolito just mentioned, so that base camp was for all of our faculty. We had over 500 faculty participate in that development to be better prepared to support you.
So next question's around veteran students. I'm a veteran and was affected negatively by the VA requirements over the summer. What, if any, changes were made to ensure that VA compliance for veterans to receive full benefits?
So veteran services is within my purview, so I'll tackle this a bit. So as a veteran, you know that there are so many regulations and compliance pieces that we have to work through, and it can be super complex. And those regulations are outside of the college, so we don't have the ability to change those. But our job, right, is to help you navigate that and how to navigate those changes. What we can do is we look to see, well, how can we supplement what you're receiving through veteran services? Are there other resources at the college that will help you? From a community college district level, we do have a Veterans Affairs representative, and she's been working to advocate from her end and to help explain the situation that our students are in. It's helpful to hear from students. So if there are specific challenges that you've experienced, because again, this is new, it was hard to anticipate what would be all the ripple effects of COVID and the changes in course structure. So I also say, you don't have to just accept things at face value. Like, let's talk about it, because there might be things we can do to help you, especially if there were challenges that we did not anticipate. One example I'll give you, there were just some slight changes on our language on the back end about how we talk about courses that move from in-person to online. And that does impact veterans if we don't think about our language, right? So talk to us about the challenges you're experiencing. Every student's situation is unique. Veterans benefits differ depending on the time that you serve. So there's not really a one size fits all. So let's just keep talking so we can figure out how to best help you.
This question is for our students. Are there non-traditional students in student clubs? I haven't joined any groups because of the age difference.
I'll take this one. I would say 100% yes. I have been involved in clubs for most of my time at Chandler-Gilbert. As I said, I started very young when I was in high school. I think one of the biggest ones is in PTK. You had returning students who hadn't been to school in decades. You had someone like me, and I think really it is open to anyone and everyone, and they'll accept you. You can have a lot of opportunities. So I would say 100% yes.
And following off of what Katie said, it's exactly that. 100%. It doesn't matter the age difference. We accept everyone.
Okay, another question. This one has a different scope to it. And it's also geared towards the students. If I'm a grandparent or a family member trying to think of ways to equip my students with perhaps like a care box, what would be good gifts or items or things to make this a better experience for you to include in that care box?
Well, I guess as a student, one thing that personally makes me feel more at home when I'm gone is just memorabilia. So whenever I have to go somewhere, I'll take photos with me. And or if someone sends me a photo, it makes me feel more connected. So that way I'm able to, feel better, I guess, as well as food. I mean, food is absolutely amazing. So.
I know the first thing that came to mind was snacks. That's like the biggest one. I would say maybe like fun school supplies. That's always fun to get. It's something that I feel like I always need. I think it really is personal to the student. So anything you think that they would like, that would remind them of home, that's comforting, like Angel said, pictures, memorabilia. Yeah, I think school supplies and snacks are some of the biggest things.
Thank you. So it looks like we've gone through all of the questions that we've gotten through the comments. So are there any final thoughts, things you'd like to make sure that we get out to our students before the end of the stream?
Kathryn, would you like to start us off?
Sure, yeah. I think really to summarize everything that I said, I think the biggest takeaway is that we're always here for you. This is a very difficult time. I always talk about how there is this huge disruption. And I think one of the biggest things is never be afraid to ask questions or ask for help. I feel like a lot of times, especially with younger people, is we're afraid to seem weak, like, oh, like we're going to college, we're adults, like we've passed the point where we're asking for help and asking questions. And I feel like this is one of the most important times to do that. So never be afraid to ask for help, ask questions. There are no stupid questions, really, there are not. And don't be afraid to reach out to peer mentors, to staff, to faculty, whoever. Don't be afraid to rely on your parents for support, your friends, your peers. And I think the best thing to know is that we are all in this together. We're all in the same storm, we might not be in the same boat, but we're all in the same storm. And we can find ways to support you with what you need.
Angel.
Following what Kathryn was saying, it's exactly that. We're in a time where everything's so confusing and things are off of balance. And truly, a lot of us are still coping with the changes that have come. And it's just as Mike Green, the student life director, says, never worry alone, right? So always have someone there to have your back. And even if it's just a quick conversation, that can make a world of difference. So stay connected and find ways to find new connections.
Vice President Hipolito.
I just, what I would share is that for those of us who are working behind the scenes, there are so many people who care about you, and we're all rooting for you. I spend all of my days meeting with people who are planning and working to figure out the best ways that we can support our students and get you to your goals. And so I want to end with thanking you for spending your afternoon with us and helping us to learn a little bit more about your needs and giving us a chance to share from some of the things we've learned.
And I just want to wrap up on that same note. I want to thank the panelists today for joining us. To have Kathryn representing our amazing peer mentors, to have Angel representing our amazing student leaders. Vice President Hipolito represents the faculty and staff who are just committed to your success. We feel that Chandler-Gilbert's a special place, and we hope you feel that. We really care, and we care about you. We know we're in really difficult times right now. And we want you to really hear. If you don't hear anything else, know you are not alone. Reach out and ask, and we'll do whatever we can to help you continue towards your goals and be successful.
Those are all our questions, and we ended a few minutes early. So if you're out there watching and you have a last-minute question, you have 2 minutes to throw it in the comments, and we can get you taken care of. Any other advice from anyone on the call? Okay. I don't see any movement in the chat, so I think we can wrap it up. Thank you to all of our panelists, and thank you to everyone that's been watching and has commented and asked questions. And I'll turn it over to Greg so he can sign us off.
All right. Thank you again. We plan on holding more of these sessions. Again, we want to make sure we're communicating out the resources we have available and that we keep hearing from you so we best understand how to respond and support you in these times. Hang in there. We're together, Coyote Strong. Thank you, and hopefully we'll get to see you soon. Bye.